Hey runners, how's it going? Here we are getting on to week 11 of my Boston Qualifier Marathon training. And today I'll just go over a little bit of where I'm at in my training. And then I want to spend some time talking about some race fueling tips. And I'll go into carbo loading, whether you should do that or not, what you should do before the race and during the race. First of all, as far as training goes, last week our long run was 12 miles and that went very well. I ran it at about a 10-minute per mile pace, which is what I was aiming for. Nice cruise, felt great. Ran a couple times this week, went skiing, hauled some dirt. So I've been moving around all week, which is good. And then this Saturday, I actually have a 20K race that I've signed up for. Now I've done this one a couple of times in the last couple of years. It's part of a series that I do that kind of jumpstarts marathon training, you might say. But it's a fun course. It's a 5K loop. So I'll be doing four laps on that 5K loop, and it's pretty flat. So it's real good marathon training. So the goal, again, it's about 12 miles. So the goal is to pretty much try to hang around my goal marathon pace right around 9 minutes per mile for the thing. So it'll be a marathon pace run. I'm not trying to set a PR for a half marathon or anything, though at this point I probably couldn't anyway. The main thing is just to get through it, pick the pace up, and just see how I feel. I'll report that on next week as far as how that went. So I want to talk about fueling because now with 10 to 12 weeks out before the marathon, this is really an opportune time to start training for how you're going to fuel during the race because everyone's really different on, what works for them, whether it's taking gels, drinking sports drink, combination of the two, or maybe use gummies or even solid food. I'll go over a few rules, but this is something that you're just going to have to practice every week now until your race just to see what actually works for you. So when we're talking about the day before the race, the main thing for all of us is we just need to stay hydrated for the few days before the race and in the race morning. So keep those fluids going the whole time because you want to enter the race fully hydrated. And it's best to do that over a couple of days. Make sure you're totally hydrated. Let's talk about carbo loading. So is that something you should do? I would put most runners into two different camps. Either you're carb dependent or you're fat adapted. And if you're fat adapted, there's no need to carbo load at all. And if you're not and you're more carb dependent, then you might want to take a look into that. I'm not that way, so I can't give you any advice on carbo loading. I would just say don't do anything extreme because it's just not necessary, but look that up yourself. But the main thing for all runners for the evening before the race for that last meal, you don't want to eat anything that you're just not used to. So it's no surprises sort of dinner. You don't need to eat a lot. You just need to eat something that you're comfortable with and that won't bother you the next morning for your start of your race. And how you find this out is you've got, let's say, 10 weekends before your race. Every night before that long run, you should just see what sort of meal works for you the next morning that leaves you not in any sort of distress before the start of your long run. So that's something that you just have to play around and see what works best for yourself. Now, when we're talking about before the race, there's a couple things to bear in mind. Is if you're going to eat something before the race, that's fine, but ideally you should have about a 3-hour period between when you eat and the actual start of the race. And the reason for this is to give your digestion time to go through the process so that you're not shunting the digestive process during your run and creating distress for you later on in the race. So if you're going to eat, keep the calorie amount between 200 to 400 calories as far as what you're eating, and try and do it at least 3 hours before the start of the race. And if there's a choice between sleeping in or eating, it's always best to sleep in. Don't get up at some god-awful hour just to eat so you're 3 hours before the start of the race. It's better just to take the sleep and not worry about that. What you can do a couple hours before the race is drink a couple of bottles of water to keep that hydration going after you've just woken up. That's a good time to top off the tank as far as hydration goes. And that's pretty important before you hit the start line. But if you're still hungry or you feel you need to eat something just before the race, then go ahead and have a gel or a sports drink 5 to 10 minutes before the start. And this will allow you to get going on the start of your race for the first few miles without having to worry about digestion and issues like that. So during the race, you've got a couple decisions that you need to make as a result of all this long run training that you've been doing. First of all, I would highly recommend is to find out what type of gels and sport drink that the race is going to be providing on race day. It's very important that if you're going to be using those aid stations during the race, that you're comfortable with the type of fueling that they're providing. So find out what kind of gels, what kind of sport drink, and then test that out on your weekly long runs to see if those work for you. And if they do, fantastic. And if they don't, then you need to start testing some other types of fuels to see what will work for you. And you have to decide what you need to carry if you're not going to be relying on aid stations all the time during the race. So for starters, when you first start the race, usually the first 30 to 60 minutes, you should be just fine in regards to fueling. Once after that first hour, you should shoot for around 120 to 180 calories per hour. So to give you an idea, most gels are right around 90 to 100 calories. So after that first hour, probably take your first gel, and if you're relying on gels, probably every 45 minutes would be a good time to take another gel. And again, that's something that you should practice during your long runs every week so that you're very comfortable doing that, and if that works for you or not. You may be fine taking fewer. You may feel that you need to have a gel every half hour. You won't know until you try that during your training, so that, again, during the race, you have a plan and you know that it works for you. Now, you can also rely on sports drinks. Sports drinks have about 100 calories in a single serving. So if you're carrying your own sport drink, you can calculate things out that way. or you can do a combination of gels and sports drink to get around that kind of hourly calorie requirement that you need to be comfortable on your run. So the main thing is figure out what the race is going to provide, and then test that out if you can. And at least during your long runs, test your fueling during your long run to see how often you need to take a gel or to take a sport drink, and get very comfortable with that as your long run mileage increases during your training, so that by the time you get to those 18, 20-mile runs, you should have it pretty well nailed down as far as what works for you and what you plan to do at the race. So hopefully that helps, and keep running, and I'll see you in the next one.